4 be acted on. 4C we'll bring back another time.
Yeah, after.
Entertain a motion.
I move.
Second.
Call for the vote. Okay, we have a joint public hearing, and I don't want to really start that for just 5 minutes. I want to take a quick break. It's going to be a while. We're going to do that, and I want somebody to fix that air conditioning while we're gone. Okay, at this time, we'll reconvene the agency. We have a public hearing. Let's see, did we do 4C?
5 on yours and 7 on council.
Yeah.
We skipped 4C. That's already, we're past.
Okay, you're right, we walked it. At this time, we're going to go into the public hearing. It's 5A on the agency agenda, and it's 7A on the city council agenda. Mr. Fertel, do you have a staff report?
Yes, we do. Before staff gives a presentation, I'd like to invite the developer up to share with the council their resume and their proposal to develop the Water Park Hotel. So Chad McQuinney from McQuinney Enterprises is here.
There's a lot of noise coming from outside, so let's shut those doors if we can. Keep the air in here.
Got to turn that on. Just a moment, Chad. Keith, can you turn the screen on? There we go. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Chad McQuinney. I'm co-founder and CEO of McQuinney. I'm excited to be here tonight. With me is Trey Rigby in the audience. He's a senior project manager for us on this project, and very excited to be here. We have a long history in Orange County and with the city of Garden Grove. I think our relationship with Garden Grove goes back about 12 years now. And we've got a little presentation we put together for you. And what I thought I'd do is just walk right into that, and then we can go from there. The first slide is our company purpose and our promise. Our purpose as a company is to create great places for people, and our promise is to provide fabled experiences. A fabled experience is basically someone has an experience with McQuinney that's so good that they'll take the time to write a thank you letter, tell family and friends, make a referral, et cetera. Our company was founded in 1991, and today is currently a team of 73 associates. Our company's developed about 3.5 million square feet of vertical commercial projects throughout the Rocky Mountain region in Southern California, and we've also master planned, developed, and entitled a little over 6,000 acres of land. This is our portfolio today, which includes a number of different vertical and commercial projects throughout Southern California and Northern Colorado. And this is our leadership team, highlighted here by the pictures up on the screen. Found an old photo. I don't know if Bill or Bruce or some of the others remember this. This was actually on top of one of the first hotels that was redeveloped on the International West Corridor. That was the Hilton Garden Inn, and we're very happy to be celebrating now about a 12 or 13-year relationship with Garden Grove. Our first project in the city was in partnership with Stonebridge Companies, and we served as master developer for the 28-acre project on both the north side and south side of the Hyatt Alicante, which today is home to 6 hotels and 5 different restaurants. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Trey Rigby. And before I turn it over to Trey, I just want to compliment the entire city staff that you have. I actually met them I think it was about 12 or 14 years ago at a redevelopment conference. And they're very professional, very, I would say very strategic, and have a very good eye for the future. What you're doing out here really can't be replicated anywhere else in the world. There's not a lot of cities that have the magnet of Disney right at their entrance. And I would also like to commend many councils before you who have really laid the groundwork for hopefully continuing into the future. Before Trey gets up here, I do have a company brochure, and I'm going to pass it around so you can keep that for your reference.
Thank you, Chad. Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff. Chad took a second to talk about the relationship we've had with the city of Garden Grove in the past. I'd like to take an opportunity to discuss the project in front of us this evening. Tonight, McWhinney is now seeking to secure the rights for approximately 10.3-acre water park hotel project. As you can see from the map in front of you, and as you're all well aware of the area, the project is strategically located just over a mile south of Disneyland on Harbor Boulevard, primary north-south corridor between Highway 5 and Highway 22. When complete, this project will be the anchor for International West and the impetus for future development in Garden Grove. And, you know, we kind of take for granted, Chad and I do, McWhinney as a whole, what a water park hotel is. We've been looking at this concept for over 2 years, but I wanted to take just a second for everyone's benefit to go over what exactly is a water park hotel. It's actually a proven concept nationally, though it would be new to the area. Examples of successful water park hotels are those operated by Great Wolf Resorts, Kalahari Resorts, Nickelodeon, Wilderness Lodge, and the Schlitterbahn. And that's just a summary of those. But amongst those 5 that I just listed, there are 21 water park hotel resorts nationally. Typically, the water park is generally an exclusive amenity to the hotel guests. And what that does is create a new destination in and of itself, which drives tourism, increases overnight visitation. I mentioned there are a number of these nationwide. However, this exciting component of this project, this would be the first water park hotel for Southern California. The project is a perfect complement to the tourist market already created by Disneyland, and creates a place to relax and have fun either for the whole day or after a day at the park. What you're looking at is a conceptual preliminary proposed site plan for the project. Just wanted to step through what those pieces are. The project is planned to include approximately 600 hotel rooms, 3 acres of indoor-outdoor water park, approximately 15,000 square feet of conference space, and 18,000 square feet of premier restaurant space, which will be located right on Harbor Boulevard, as well as approximately 1,200-unit parking structure. So in summary, I wanted to thank you all for allowing us to present a bit about the company and the opportunity ahead of us tonight. I think this is a very uniquely located project. It'll be the driver of future development, the anchor to International West, and something that will increase tourism and overnight visitation for the city of Garden Grove. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trey. At this point, I'd like Greg Blodgett now to walk through the specific deal points with for the agency board.
Mr. Chairman, members of the agency board, tonight I'll walk through both the deal points and also the cost and benefits of this project. The preliminary deal points include agency acquiring the 10.3-acre site shown on this map in both the red and yellow, and conveying the site to the developer at no cost. To date, the agency owns the land in the red area, and the property to be acquired is shown in yellow. Other critical deal points include agency contributing up to $5 million for the parking structure. 50% of the net generated revenue will be shared with the developer over 12 years, which I'll go into more detail on another slide. Also, off-site improvements, both landscape and streetscape, from Twin Tree Avenue on Harbor Boulevard to the subject site on the west side of Harbor. We'll have an operating covenant in place till 2032, which will allow for the hotel to remain in continuous operation until 2032. And then we'll also have a provision to maintain a TOT differential from Anaheim of 2%. Also included in this agreement will be a right of first refusal for the developer to be the master planner to develop from Twin Tree Avenue south to Boaro, and west side of Harbor, the area shown in yellow. The estimated project costs for this project include land acquisition, demolition, environmental, and relocation of $15.8 million, parking structure contribution of $5 million, for a total agency investment of $20.8 million. Also included are new jobs created by this project, 500 to 800 permanent jobs, and then 100 new construction jobs will be created. The benefits for the project include new tax increment, which is property tax, of almost $1 million, $991,000. TOT tax, which is our hotel tax, of $4 million. Hotel food and beverage of $162,000, and restaurant sales tax of $126,000, for a total combined revenue in the first year of $5.3 million. And then this next slide shows how the revenue share will be shared, $5.3 million in year one. In this column will be shared 50% of the TOT with the developer in this column. Then the next share of revenue will go for the agency payback, which is the total of $20.8 million split over 10 years, which is column B. Then the remaining balance, $1.2 million, is shared 50-50 with the city and the developer. And then the remaining revenue, or total revenue, to the city for year one is $2.6 million. These revenues increase over time, and by year 10, $3.4 million goes to the city. Year 11 and 12, the city will receive 4.1 and 4.2 million. And I want to point out, in year 11 and 12, the city is splitting 50% of the revenues with the developer. And then the other point was, year 13, the city receives $8.8 million. The next slide shows the proposed outside dates for the project. We have a franchise agreement to be approved by August 12, 2010. Approval of site plan, April 27, 2011. Evidence of financing, October 27, 2011. And there's an asterisk here. If the developer cannot obtain financing, we could extend this provision for 6 months, and then another 6 months if he's unable to find financing. And start of construction will be July 27, 2012, and completing the project July 27, 2014. At this time, staff recommends approving the resolution for the City Council of the City of Garden Grove, consenting to the approval of the agency disposition development agreement between the agency and Garden Grove MXD LLC, and also a resolution of the agency approving the disposition development agreement between the agency and Garden Grove MXD LLC, making certain findings, other findings in connection therewithin. This concludes my staff report, and we're open for questions.
Any questions for staff? Hearing none, at this time, we're going to open up the public hearing. I'm going to call Mr. Bob Owens.
Where was it? Here. Let me get my, not too smart, you understand. I got to think a little bit. See, got a high school education, but they give it to me in the Navy not to come back. You can imagine that? Huh? You imagine those guys, huh? Now, I want to tell you what this means to me. It's at the educational levels. This is the report, the economic report, huh? In the city of Garden Grove. In 2006, 17.8% of the city residents 25 and over had completed a bachelor or higher degree. That compared to 34% for Orange County. As a whole, was less than all of Southern California counties except San Bernardino. At the same time, 55.3% of the adults had not attended a single college class. What does that tell you? Huh? It tells you we're a working town. Huh? We had to work in the factories. We got to go out, huh, and do the work that nobody else wants to do. Not these engineer twidgets, huh? Not these marketing twidgets. Not the kind of guy that's got a doctor's degree and gets his necktie caught in when he slams the door, huh? And that trailer park is made up basically mostly of Hispanics. You ever looked at the Vietnam Wall? See how many Hispanics died for this country? Huh? You ever looked? By God, you ought to look. You ever look in Iraq and see how many Hispanics, died for defending this country? And I'm telling you right now that if you move those people out of there without as good a housing, okay, or better, in the city of Garden Grove, you deprive them of their livelihood. You deprive them of their kids going to school. You deprive them of the way of life if you make them pay more rent. That's a violation of their constitutional rights. And I don't care what any lawyer says. I'd love to argue that before a judge. Dumb old me. Dumb old me. And I bet you I'd make an impact. Now, let's talk about this resort. Now, Matty talks in here, and then they quote you. A guy's quote, Matty, okay? All right? 16,000 square feet, 600 room, 300 million project, 10.3 acre site. 10.3 acre site. Okay. All right. Then Garden Grove is going to increase the hotels tax. They'll make 7%. Said there are a thing it might be by 2012 it might start. The project has the potential to generate $5.3 million in taxpayers' revenue. I know you said that once, Matty, but I want to say it again. 600 temporary jobs. Permanent? Well, I got a good idea. Them people in the trailer park should be the first one employed in that hotel. What about that developer? You want to make a commitment right now for Garden Grove? You employ them people in your hotel. Union wages, all benefits. So we might want you in. We might want you in. Okay. All right. The fire station, the city already, the McWinney, whatever his name is, needs for the project was usually a hurdle. This is what my good friend Matt said now. The project would partly the former fire station motel and partly the travel country RV park. Now it's my understanding that the RV park is going to be relocated in Garden Grove. Understand? Why can't those people be relocated? The city will relocate 48 space RV park to another site in Garden Grove. Now, Anaheim made a serious commitment by fighting off developers into the resort. Anaheim fought off developers to go in and build hotels? I think it's come from somebody else, Matty. I really do. I didn't track it. Anaheim didn't fight off no developers. Or try to Garden Grove on their back. They didn't fight off no developers for hotels. I called them and asked them. What's the matter? Well, this didn't come from Matt. There's already, people talking in here, okay? All right. Now let's go down. Give me no time now. I'm not too smart here. You understand? I'm that 53% that's got a high school education or not. I ain't no twidget. See? Now, let's get down to the good part. Acquisition. Developer with the agency, a $50,000 deposit, the agency. The agency will pay the amount not to exceed $250,000 for renovation and identification of hazardous material. But this is the good part with taxpayers' money, redevelopment money, which is taxpayers' money. Amount equal to approximately 50% of the tax increment and the transfer occupancy tax and sales tax revenue for a period of 12 years after the commencement of the operation. That means the city development gives the developer back 50% of the profits. Who's making all this money? 50% they're giving the developer back, Write it down, Broadwater.
Hey.
I expect some repercussion from you.
Okay.
I got a little more here.
Wind it up.
I got a little more now.
I'm trying to be generous, sir.
I know you are. I know, but let me have it here now, because I'm talking for the poor people, and I'm talking for the people that don't have any power. By God, the parking lot, the redevelopment agency, the city, is going to put up $5 million to the developer. That's a good one. $5 million. They're talking about moving the families that trailer park out and can't give them decent housing and pay for it.
Mr. Owens,
Yeah.
address the council.
Okay. You want some more, huh? All right. Now, this is a good one. I don't understand this. Okay, you got estimated land, $15 million. parking structure, $5 million that you all going to give the developer, huh? Total $20,823,000 you're going to give the developer over 10 years to get this hotel. Huh? Now,
Bob, cut it off.
here's the last one. The financial impact of the agency is limited to the amount of the transit occupancy property tax of $20.8 million over 10 years, as determined by the agency economic consultant. Now get this. The amount represents approximately 50% of the tax revenues from the hotel. The agency estimated to be paid back to $28 million within 7 years. That's a good one. Huh? You all can get that money away. You can take care of these people and keep them in Garden Grove, bus, education, rent, the whole 9 yards.
I got so interested, I forgot the rest of these. Claire Pop, Elaine Pop.
Guess I got to work on that handwriting, huh?
Yeah, you'd be a doctor instead of a lawyer.
My name's Elena, E-L-E-N-A Pop. You know, the whole concept of coming to a public meeting and giving public comment and being heard sort of presupposes that people haven't made up their minds before the public comment started. And so I find it incredibly disturbing, and I've been doing this for over 25 years, and I've gone to a lot of city council hearings and a lot of state assembly hearings and a lot of congressional hearings, when more than 100 people show up to say, hey, there's something wrong with this redevelopment plan, and then it passes on a consent calendar. And I imagine we're not going to do any better with the next motion. Because even though there are some real legitimate concerns with this project, it's very clear that your minds have been made up and that the public comment is just kind of for show and because the law requires it, and I think that's incredibly sad. There are some real issues that need to be addressed here, and among those real issues are things like your housing element doesn't even mention the loss of these 114 units. And if you're out of compliance with your housing element, then you've got a problem in terms of doing development. So part of what you're doing is opening yourself up for liability on the relocation plan, certainly, and then possibly also on the development itself, by not listening, by not being willing to negotiate with community people who are coming and saying, we have a problem with this. I would ask you to please open up and engage in real dialogue, both about the relocation plan and about this, rather than just making decisions. I get that you have to listen to your staff, but there hasn't been any real negotiation about this. And if there isn't some real dialogue, then what comes from that is tension and conflict and protest and lawsuits and a lot of wasted time, energy, and money that could have been avoided if you simply had us at the table. Thank you.
Randy Mayor? Randy, you here? Thanks. Patricia Martinez will be called next.
I have to apologize to City Council. I'm not as quick as I used to be. I don't know if anything I have to say really is going to make a whole bunch of difference, because you sure proved to me what I had to say last time I was up here didn't make any difference. There wasn't even any discussion between any of you. You just passed it. To me, if this is a democracy, and this city government is supposed to represent the people of this city, then you think that you could at least discuss our concerns before you just nonchalantly pass something. Now, if your mind are predisposed to this project and what we say is it has no value at all, I don't know. In Chicago, it smacks of corruption. I don't know what you call it here, but when you don't listen to the people who have elected you, when you just can sit there and negate not only their feelings, but their concerns and their fears with a just nonchalant swipe of the pen, I wonder why I voted for some of you now. I thought you would represent me and my neighbors with a lot more concern than you've given us tonight. This is exactly the contempt that the city itself has shown us as residents since the city has purchased that property. We thought the last owners were bad. I don't know. I'm on the verge of anywhere from appalled to disgusted. Now, I fought 4 years for what I thought was a fair, democratic society. And democratic meant people electing people to represent them. And this is not representing the people of Garden Grove. This is the city council representing the city council of Garden Grove. And like I said, in Chicago, it smacked of corruption. You guys call it what you want to call it. But you're the ones that are going to have to go home tonight and think about the decisions that you've just nonchalantly made and realize now you've caused a wall to be brought up between those of you in the council who make the decisions and us, the people that have to live with them. And that could have been avoided if you'd have just given us the least amount of respect to discuss our concerns. But you had this decision made before you sat down tonight. And I'm sorry for that, because when I vote next time, there won't be a few votes that are here tonight. Thank you.
Patricia Martinez. Next person called up will be Celia Gonzalez.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Patricia Martínez y vengo a decirles de la manera más atenta que pues no estoy en acuerdo con lo que usted tienen planeado con hacer en el hotel. ¿Mande? Oh, sí.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Martinez. I'm here to say that I'm in disagreement with the plan of the development in the hotel.
Y pienso que pues con todo eso que tienen ustedes de hacer esa construcción de ese gran hotel, parque acuático y hasta casinos, donde van a, pues, ¿cómo pueden tener el dinero para agarrar todo, para construir todo eso, siendo que no pueden tener dinero para mejorías del RV Park, donde está en malas condiciones?
So I have to wonder, if you have all this money to build the water park, the hotel, and even casinos, then how come you don't have money to keep up the units that are currently in the location of the RV park?
Un ejemplo de eso es que, por ejemplo, en el lugar donde yo vivo, hay unas, ¿cómo se puede decir? Unas, donde va la electricidad de no sé cuántos voltios, que va directo a las RV, una de tantas, ¿verdad? De esa, donde yo vivo, está, cuando llueve, inclusive ha hecho cortocircuito, donde se ha oído un ruido estrondoso, o sea, de como cuando alguien se electrocuta.
Okay. An example, the electrical connections at the park that go to the RVs to provide electricity to the RVs. When it rains, frequently we will hear a short circuiting, or experience a short circuiting, and hear noises that sound like someone being electrocuted.
Sí, y en el área pues donde está ahí es un lugar descubierto, donde hay niños jugando, andan jugando pelota, andan jugando los chiquillos. Es un gran peligro para los niños, para nuestros hijos, ese tipo de problemas. Ese es un ejemplo solamente. Hay otro ejemplo.
So in having this occur, faulty electrical wiring in areas that are exposed to where children play, in the common areas and the play areas, that's our kids' safety that's at risk. So that's an example of how the park is not being kept up. And I have another example.
Sí, hay otro ejemplo donde hay otra RV, donde inclusive se incendió la electricidad del mera main, donde está el que entra a las RV, que no sé cuántos realmente voltios tiene esa para mantener la electricidad de una casa, una vivienda. Y se incendió esa RV, que si no es por otra vecina, se hubiera quemado la señora adentro.
With one particular RV, there was an electrical problem to the point that a fire started, and the whole place would have burned down if somebody hadn't assisted the homeowner in putting out the fire.
Sí, y otras pues personas, inclusive otra RV, también por las mismas condiciones en que está, no hubo un cortocircuito y no tuvo esa señora electricidad por un año, que ya le habían dicho al encargado, al manager de los RV, y no tuvo electricidad por un año, ¿se imagina usted? Entonces, una de las, okay.
Another example, one of our neighbors had a short circuit experienced in her electrical connection to her RV, and she went an entire year without electricity. While complaining to the manager, she went a year without electricity.
Bueno, sí, y eso se me hace, pues, que cómo es que pueden tener dinero para construir tantas cosas y no pueden para mantener la comunidad donde vivimos. Se me hace injusto y se me hace un insulto a nuestros hijos, a nuestras familias. Bueno, eso es todo. Gracias.
So all I have to say is that I don't understand how you have money for development when you don't have the money to maintain the property, and this is an insult to us and to our families. Thank you.
What is the interpreter's name?
Peter Kuhns, Kuhns.
Peter, can you stick around to say a few things in Spanish when we get ready to talk?
Yeah, I'll do my best.
I appreciate it. Okay. Celia Gonzalez? Celia Gonzalez? Next up will be June Eckert.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Celia González. He vivido en el RV Park por más de 10 años.
Good afternoon, my name is Celia Gonzalez. I've lived in the RV park for more than 10 years.
Todo este grupo que estamos hoy aquí, somos 50 familias que estamos siendo desubicadas. No estamos de acuerdo con el proyecto de ustedes, pues nos están cambiando la vida totalmente. Somos personas de bajos recursos y estuvimos buscando y tenemos que dar como $1,000 más en aumento, y si no podemos a veces pagar la renta que nos han dado.
Everyone that's here today, that's from the RV park, it's about 50 families. We're all in disagreement with your development because it's completely turning our lives upside down. We're looking at payments, having to pay more than $1,000 a month in rent, in addition to what we're paying now, some of us, in order to stay living in the area.
Yo quisiera hacerles una pregunta a las personas que están aquí presentes. Si en lugar de ser nosotros, las personas que quieren desalojar de ahí, fueran sus familias, tomarían la misma decisión. Hace unos momentos ni siquiera nos tomaron en cuenta. ¿Creen ustedes que si fueran sus familias tomarían las cosas a la ligera o sería lo mismo que con nosotros.
I'd like to ask you a question. If this wasn't us that was getting evicted, but it was actually your own family members, would you be making the same decisions? A few minutes ago, you completely ignored us when we made our comments. Would you do that to your own family members?
Okay. Buenas noches.
My name is June Eckert. Good evening, council members, residents of Garden Grove. I've been listening to a lot of things. I live the east side of Harbor, and I'm wondering, you're going to be putting this project together. We voted against it. We've been fighting you for years about it. We're still fighting, but it looks like we lost. You don't care what we think. You've got your agenda. All these people out there, what about them? Doesn't make any difference what race, what culture, what religion, what, doesn't make any difference. They can be orange, purple. We're all human beings. All we want to do is be treated fairly. Have you been treating us fairly? I don't think a lot of people are going to agree. I had a list of things I was going to ask, questions I had concerned regarding this project. They're minuscule compared to what I've heard. I'm against it. More so because of seeing how you're handling the human race, the human people, the humanity. Would you or any of you, want to be treated the same way? Think about it. I've come to a lot of different council meetings. It hasn't changed. I'm still here, and I'm still giving my opinion. And I'll continue. And hopefully, somebody will wake up and realize we have insights too, and we have feelings, and we have things we want to have happen too. We want Garden Grove to grow. We don't want it to go away. We don't want it to be called a garbage city. That's all I've got to say, because I think I'm talking to air.
Sherry Williams. Sherry Williams.
My name is Sherry Williams, and I live 4 houses and across 2 streets from the proposed Water Park Hotel development. I understand that the Garden Grove City Council believes it is necessary to raise revenue for the city, and they seem to have the sole determination that hotels and their bed tax are the only option. New hotels do nothing to enhance the quality of life for the Garden Grove residents. They increase traffic and wear and tear on our roads. Additionally, they cause an increased demand on our police and fire personnel. Local business and services benefiting Garden Grove residents are being pushed out by these types of developments, which have little or no benefit to Garden Grove residents. The revenue they create does not outweigh the cost to me and my neighbors. The city's current hotels are at the intersection of Harbor and Chapman, although they are moving south. The most recent addition does touch on a residential neighborhood, a neighborhood the city has targeted for purchase for future development if they haven't purchased it already. The proposed Water Park Hotel development under construction is not directly adjoining any of the existing hotel properties. The 12-story hotel will tower over the 1-story apartment complex directly to the west, and the 1-story single-family homes adjoining this location to the north. If you notice from your map, there's at least one property that will have this development on the east and south side directly. It'll be surrounded by 2 sides of this development. Directly across Harbor are more single-family 1-story homes. This 12-story hotel and its accompanying 6 to 7-story parking structure will be totally out of place for this neighborhood and location. It will interfere with the privacy and the property values of the neighborhood residents. I understand that the water park is for hotel guests only. Even that attraction has no benefit to the residents of Garden Grove, nor will it attract tourists and their money staying at any other hotel in Garden Grove or its proximity. And I'd like to make note that when the residents had a meeting with Mr. Blodgett, and I made a reference to the students of Walton, made a joke that we could round them up at the water park if we couldn't find them at the school. He did not bother to mention that that water park was for the hotel residents only, and made the people at the meeting believe that it would be open to the public. The city has stated that they have purchased or are purchasing the land required for this development and will be giving the property to the developer, along with an additional $5 million for the construction of the parking structure, and they will rebate back to the developer 50% of the tax revenues for many years in the future. I respectfully request that this City Council do not approve this development, and instead look for a development that will benefit the city and its residents, instead of excluding the residents and negatively impacting our quality of life.
Bob Walker.
How do? Anyhow, most of the stuff's already been said by the little lady in front of me. I'm opposed to this water world. I read, just like she did, that this is not for the general public. That's just for the people, the guests of the hotel, which I don't see how that's going to generate any money if the citizens can't use it, or the people of Garden Grove can't use it. I see that doing this is probably going to raise our taxes, our water rates, our sewage rates, our trash rates, which has already been done to pay for this thing. I see traffic, it's going to be enormous. I live on the southwest corner of Garden Grove and Harbor, and I see the traffic already with all the hotels that we have on Garden Grove Boulevard and on Harbor is going to be outrageous. I don't see how any money is going to be generated. People that are going to stay at these hotels and go to Disneyland, the last thing on their mind after spending a day at Disneyland is go play in the water. They're pretty tired. On the news, they say we're in a drought. Where's this water going to come from to put this water world together? You know, here a few years ago, you guys asked us to cut back 5%. We cut back 7%. Now you're asking us to cut back 10%. But now we're going to have water for water world? It doesn't make sense to me. That's about all I got to say on it. I just want to know also, where is this going to stop? You know, we went through the redevelopment here a few years ago, and we fought like crazy for it. You all that know me know where I stand on that, and I'm still very concerned about it. So I'd like to know where that's going to stop. This is, as far as I see, this redevelopment is nothing more than cancer, and we got to stop it now before it keeps growing. Thank you.
Mr. Jim Dunn.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, a small technical personal observation. Don't you have a volume control on this thing? I'm mostly deaf from years of shooting, going to the drag racing, and 25 years of being a diver, and I come in here, and gentleman and lady, if you don't turn this thing down, you're going to be as deaf as I am. Now, to the water park. I just spent a week in the lovely confines of the city of Honolulu, where I was able to rent, if I so desired, a hotel room on the beach at Waikiki for $129 a night. My round trip was about $270. I think you need to look at the situation you are in right now via money, income, and tourism before you jump in with both feet to something that you have obviously been looking at for a long time, and that appeared very favorable, as did many things, right up till, I won't give you the exact date, but I'm a radical somewhere to the right of Genghis Khan, so you can figure that part out. What I'm trying to say to you is, what I'm hearing is you're going to give back 50% of the revenue, and I'm also hearing that this park will be for the exclusive use of the hotel guests. Now, while I was in Hawaii, I observed that a very rich gentleman who purchased most of the island of Lanai and spent a fortune on developing some very exclusive and very expensive properties is now looking to go to wind generation to try and recoup some monies because he is not getting the attendance that he expected. And as far as going to the water park, I like water parks. I'm a body surfer, was a diver for 25 years, still wreck diver. But I don't know, if I went outside the house yesterday, I wouldn't have a big urge to go get in the water park. In any case, even if I did, I couldn't get in. So frankly, I think, and I didn't track closely the casino that was being offered, but I did read the figures, and I think monetarily it was a lot better deal. It may not have been as attractive to the general population because of the other causes, but I think you need to take a real close look at this. I have a great deal of sympathy for my friends here. I do feel that this council was insulted by people who get up here and say there should be somebody on this council who speaks Spanish. That's a noble sentiment. But folks, you ran and you were elected by the people of the city of Garden Grove, and I don't care who you are or where you come from. You have an identical right to run, collect those votes, and get on this council. And so if that's what the folks want, let them. Our Vietnamese friends, assuming that you're both of Vietnamese descent, seem to have done pretty well in getting people in here. Now, I can't guarantee that both these folks speak that language, but I suspect that they pretty well understand it. And you do have courtesy of translator. I work for the big city of the north, which is in deep, deep, deep kimchi, money-wise. That would be Los Angeles. And they do have translators. And possibly had you known these folks were all going to be here, you would have provided. That would be my suggestion. Again, what I'm trying to say to you is I would go back and look at this thing again, folks. Get your auditors, get your accountant, and see. I can say I lost Mr. Broadwater, but I'm used to that. I've been in front of the LA City Council before. Not very often. I try to keep my head down since I'm an inspector who works for the city. But look at these figures again. These projections were made in the past. We're living in a different time. I've cut back on a lot of things, as have many of my friends and acquaintances, as has my city, and has many cities around here cut back. Layoffs. I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, Garden Grove employees forewent a raise for the benefit of the city. Thank you. And so please, not for me, and I do feel deeply for these folks, don't get me wrong, that are going to be displaced. And certainly if this developer has that kind of money, I think that they might possibly pony up a little more than $5,000. I might have that much hidden in one of my closets, but if I did, I wouldn't know up to it. So thank you very much for your kind attention. You will probably see more of me. My parents had a house here since 1963, which I have since inherited, and I am planning on being a Garden Grove resident into the future. And it's been interesting. I thank you.
At this time, we will close the public hearing. Mr. Fertel, is anything more from staff?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen, does anybody want to speak? Gentlemen and ladies, excuse me.
Actually, not on the item itself, but on some of the points that were raised.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Fertel, any truth to the statements that have been repeated often tonight about an offer of $5,000 in remuneration in lieu of a relocation assistance to the residents?
Well, there were several comments made in various contexts, but we tried to be sensitive to the fact that this project has been known for a while, and the uncertainty for these residents was starting to mount. We also knew that even if the agreement was approved tonight, it could still be 2 to 3 years before construction would commence, continuing to have a cloud of uncertainty for the residents. And the $5,000 was purely an opportunity for those who felt that this would be to their advantage to eliminate any uncertainty in their lives, and if it was something that they could use, it would be available. It was never intended, and I doubt that it was even offered in lieu of relocation, or that if they stayed, they would not be entitled to their full benefits. In fact, I would suggest that we were very clear that if they did not wish to take advantage of this, that they would be able to remain, and at such time that there was a notice to vacate, they would be entitled to their full benefits.
So an amount of $5,000 was in fact communicated in some way to the residents?
Yes, it was.
And how was it couched if it wasn't in lieu of the relocation assistance?
Well, I personally didn't make it. We had staff members who spoke Spanish approach those residents that they were able to make contact with.
Did they translate what was written for them, or did they make this up as they went along, the staff that spoke Spanish?
I don't know if they had a written script that they read from.
Were they given a directive to offer this or to anything specific? I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I know that they spoke Spanish to some of the residents.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to be very quiet. We have listened to everybody. I want you to be quiet so you can listen to this gentleman. Please.
The directive would have been that due to the uncertainty of what will occur on this property for the foreseeable future, if anyone wished to vacate at this point, the city would offer them $5,000 to do so. If they chose not to take it, they would be able to stay, and at such time in the future, if there was a notice to vacate, they would be eligible for relocation, their full benefits at that time.
That was communicated, the right to relocation assistance in the future?
I don't have the exact phrases that were used, but that was the directive. Okay. And if there was some confusion, I can't answer if everybody understood that correctly, but that certainly was the directive.
And who gave that directive to that staff member?
That would have been myself.
Okay. And was there anything in the directive to spell out what type of relocation assistance would have been included?
No, that was not the opportunity to do so.
Okay. Regarding the condition of the park, the mobile home park, actually RV park, any truth to the statements that were made earlier about the lighting condition, the electrical line, the bathroom being flooded and destroyed, and only one stall working? Any truth to any of those things?
Just a moment.
Mr. Dole, members of the agency and City Council, I have been in charge of the monitoring of the RV park. Since we took it over, we have made a number of improvements to the facilities. If you compare what was there before and what was there now, in addition to the list of improvements that have been made, a substantial number of improvements have been made. At the same time, as we've had a tremendous amount of vandalism on the property, and so we've had to up the security, and quite frankly, we have eliminated some of those who have been causing problems, not obeying the rules and regulations of the park, and I think that was a bulk of many of the problems that existed. So we have done as much as we could under the circumstances to keep at least a well operating park, the best of our ability.
And I understand the challenges that we can face as a city trying to play the role of a landlord. But I also am concerned of some of the points that are raised tonight. And while I am supportive of the project, because I think in the long run it is to the best interest of the city for us to move ahead with this project, for the time being, since we have taken on the responsibility of being a landlord, I can assure you that we will do all we can to maintain a habitable condition for the residents. And so with that in mind, I'm going to stop by the RV park tomorrow and in the morning, and I'm going to take a look at some of the conditions that you have talked about tonight. And so I want you to know that your concerns do not fall on deaf ears, certainly not with the council. But we have to keep the two issues very separate, okay? Thank you.
I'd like to comment on just little things that might help a little bit. In 1994, we decided to build hotels at the corner of Chapman and Harbor Boulevard. And there was a mobile home park there, 117 mobile homes. And those 117 mobile homes had to be moved for us to build that park. There was uprising just like there is tonight. You start to tell people they're going to have to move, they're very, very leery of what's going on. And it's really not a good thing. I mean, basically, there are 50 people in this park that are worried about what's going to happen and where it's going to go. But the truth of the matter is, we moved and relocated 117 families in that mobile home park. One lady was blind, I recall. We had to move her into a condominium, and we had to hire people to train her how to walk around her house. It all came out of relocation. I had a lady send me a Christmas card from Tucson, and she says, "Last year I hated you, Mr. Broadwater." I was the mayor at the time this happened, and said, "Last year I hated you, Mr. Broadwater, but when that sun rolls up in Arizona, I love you." She got the chance to move where she wanted to move, and that was all paid for by relocation fees. So there's going to be a lot of people coming along saying, don't trust the city of Garden Grove, don't do this, don't do that. But when it comes down to relocation, and it's going to be some time before there's relocation, the city of Garden Grove is going to be there to help those people. And I can tell you, if I'm on the city council still when that happens, there will probably be an election between now and then, my door's wide open. I would be more than happy to talk with you about your relocation plan, about what's going to be done. I believe the mayor. I know the mayor very well. I've known him for 14 years. His door is open. He will talk to you. And that doesn't mean we're going to make you, I don't think there's going to be anybody tremendously unhappy. 117 mobile homes were moved, and not one single lawsuit. Not one. It didn't happen. People were happy with it. It worked for them. A lot of people wanted to be out of the mobile home business. They wanted to be in their own home. Things were made to make that happen. And I do believe that this is going to be the same thing. I don't care what level you're on or whatever. I got a kick out of talking about some jobs. There may be some jobs available. That all can possibly happen. The city of Garden Grove, is sort of a backwater city from the standpoint that it was developed by the county early on. And it didn't get good, strong development, nothing like Irvine or that type of thing. Nobody said, hey, let's put a great big shopping center in Garden Grove so there'll be lots of tax money for the citizens of Garden Grove so they don't get taxed so much. We had to turn that around. We had nothing but prostitution and drug dealing on Harbor Boulevard. There was a place called Yucca Sage, 10 huge apartment houses that were nothing but dens of iniquity. All of that had to go away. And we have cleaned that city up. We have brought in money, tax dollars for this city. Last year, $13 million from those hotels alone went right in to the public funds. And, you know, it's an oddball way to explain it, but we will probably pull in the next 13 years $78 million out of this project. That's going to be hard money to come by. The governor, if the governor of the state of California ran this state as well as this city council runs this city, they wouldn't be having half the problems they're having. So our doors are open to you, and it will happen. 17 mobile homes moved, and not one lawsuit.
I want to thank Councilman Broadwater for saying that, because all of us do pretty much have an open-door policy. And this is kind of the initial stages. We're going to work together. We're going to take a look at what's going on down there as far as improvements and what needs to be for safety and all that. I'm not going to say that. I can't say right now, because the last time I was down there, I drove through, and a couple of people looked at me like they were mad, so I figured I better not stop. But I will stop and see what we can do. Let's identify what some of the problems are and try and deal with them. Addressing a couple of concerns from people in the area, you know, when we first talked about this hotel with the water park, I thought that's going to be great. We'll have a water park, as the residents of Garden Grove can use it and everything. And then going through learning about it, I thought, you know, wait a second. The hotels on Harbor Boulevard, or any hotels for that matter, don't allow normally just anybody that lives in the neighborhood to come in. I mean, these are some amenities that are for the guests. And that's probably one of the main attractions for it. When we're talking about people staying, may not necessarily come to that hotel to stay there because it has a water park. They may come to stay because once they come home from Disneyland and the parents are tired, it's easy to tell the kids, you know, why don't you go out and swim? And the kids probably have more energy than the parents in every instance. But, so, I mean, that bothered me at first. But then I looked at it and I said, no, it's not realistic. That's one of the attractions for that hotel. And it's not a public building. It's a privately owned building. And so you can't you can't force somebody to say, gee, you know, it's your hotel, you run it, but here's what we want you to do, and here's how we want you to run it. You can't do that. There's a lot of things going on in this situation, and we're going to be addressing them, and I'm sure that some people will be very happy, some may not be so happy. You know, I think it's Pollyanna-ish to think that everybody is going to walk away 100% happy. That just doesn't happen. But I think we have some middle ground that we can come to that should benefit everybody, and I think will, for the most part, make people understand that there are a lot of things that we can do to help.
Mr. Jones, do you have any comments?
Sure. First, I think I think we all hear very loud and clear the concerns of the residents in this park, and I realize there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of fears that are created by the impacts of development projects, and yeah, no doubt, development and redevelopment creates impacts, it creates inconveniences for the assemblage of land and the relocation of people and businesses and these sort of things. This is something you know, we've been through before, and as Mr. Broadwater says, we've got a track record of dealing with our residents, with our people, with a great deal of sensitivity and fairness. So I think it's a little early in the process for anybody to say that we're not treating them fairly. We really haven't done anything yet, and I think when we get to that point, it'll become clear that we will be fair and things will be handled properly. As to the development, I mean, this is a very exciting opportunity for the city of Garden Grove, taking advantage of the externalities created by having Disneyland next door to us and all the 19 million tourists a year that are created by that park there, and to take what we started with 10, 15 years ago and create now several thousand hotel rooms, which keep getting better and better with more amenities and more just pizzazz to them. It's kind of exciting to see this build and grow. Certainly the strongest economic driver we have in the city, and we're taking advantage of what we have geographically along Harbor Boulevard there. So I'm excited to see this go forward, and I support the project.
Ms. Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Broadwater. I've heard all of you today, and we all have heard you today very clearly, and we're not taking this nonchalantly. When we make decisions, we don't get just a report that you see the day before, 3 days before. We have to discuss this in closed sessions. We have to see umpteen reports, and we get the advantage of speaking to staff personally and asking the questions that we need. About 10 years ago, or maybe more, Mr. Broadwater and the council at that time wanted to develop Harbor Boulevard, and a lot of people objected and thought they're taking a lot of Garden Grove's property and giving it to the developers. Just about a few months ago, approximately 6 months ago, we all had to meet, and we have to talk about our budget for the next 3 years. And guess where we were going to get the money to cover for the deficit the next 3 years? The money from the hotel's development that we got years ago. When you buy a house, you're going to have a mortgage. You're going to have to pay into it year after year after year, sometimes 30 years, sometimes 40 years, some of you 15 years, but you're going to pay. After you pay for all that, then you get the house free and clear. The council kind of is facing that type of situation when they're looking into development. How much do we have to pay, for how long, and what do we get at the end of the payments? I see today we have two situations. It's the maintenance of the park during the time that the residents in the park will be remaining there. And for sure, we will look into that, as Mr. Doe has already requested staff to do, and we will get into that. And Mr. Doe will personally go to the park, and then a lot of us will follow through in the same ways. The second situation is the relocation and the development. If I ask staff today, when is this all going to happen, they're not going to have an answer for me either. They don't have an exact time when it's going to happen. So you're not the only one that's kind of waiting for the answer. We're in the same boat, and we're hoping that in the development, the city will benefit the entire residents of Garden Grove. And if your relocation were to happen, that we will accommodate you to the best that we can and make sure that the accommodation is fair and just to each and every one of you. I heard all of you today, and your concerns are our concerns. And definitely, staff, if I could request that if we have communications in the future, if we could make it more clear, maybe possibly sometimes in writing, in public hearings, so that we don't have miscommunication, or maybe also interpreters for those that do not speak English. I know we sent someone that spoke Spanish, but if we could have a dual person, Spanish, English, two people, so that we can coordinate the communication and record the communications to the residents at the park. That's all I have to say, is that in my personal experience with the information I'm getting from staff and everything that's happening, we don't really know when it's going to happen. And in the process, for as far as myself, I can vouch to you that I'm going to make sure that my vote will go towards the best interest of everyone, and to make sure that it is going to be a fair and just process. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to make one more comment, and that was something that their lawyer said tonight, has said our minds were already made up before we got here. And we get this material way in advance. I mean, it's something for us to read, to go through. The city council agenda, you get 2 or 3 pages. That's mine right there. It has to go through from one end to the other. That's just the agent. That's just the city council. We have another one for the agency. That stuff has gone through, and do we make up our minds before we come? I would imagine that we do. Sometimes we have an opinion. Well, I'm going to vote this way, I'm going to vote that way. But there's nobody that sits on this council very, very long that doesn't come here one night and somebody gets up before that podium there and they say something that triggers it to change your vote. And it does happen. It's happened to me on several occasions in my life, probably 5 or 6 times. It's not something that didn't happen every time. But don't come here and say we've made up our minds. We can't even talk to each other. The Brown Act says we cannot 3 of us get together at the same place. So that's not something that is done. And there's a lot of things said bad about the city council tonight. And I notice that when people are upset with one issue, they jump on everything else they possibly can instead of defining that one issue. I doubt very much whether this council is going to walk away from this park. But I doubt. Well, let me say this, and I said it 15 years ago. Our job is to make these people whole. It's not to make them rich, just to make them whole. They should be able to have a place to live after we get through. They should be able to have a good place for their children to go to school. Nothing should change in their lifestyle. If anything should change in their lifestyle, it should be bettered, not worse. And I stand on that. Okay, we have three votes tonight. We have to approve, the agency has to approve the DDA. Can I have a vote, a motion on that, please?
So moved.
We have a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the DDA. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Okay. We have a city council motion to approve the resolution for the city council. Can we have a motion on that?
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
We have from the agency to approve the resolution with the agency. Can we have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Call for the vote. We are going to take 5-minute break, and then we will be back. Anybody wants to talk to these guys right now would be the time to do it. Items for consideration. Matters from agency members. The agency is adjourned.
Okay, we'll reconvene. The council